scared and alone. I need help. All right, wait. Okay. So the first thing I see here is Armored Skeptics in his own comments saying, I am scared and alone. I need help. Now, I can never tell if he's doing a bit, though. I can't take time off. I did that for a while now. I'm trying to pay rent. So now we're talking about... So is it about... Okay. All right. We have big crisis hours. All right. All right, Greg. The future is a lie. Let's see. We should be getting close to capitalism is the problem instead of my delusions are true. But this is pretty bad, yeah? You've seen this?
The world...
I haven't seen this. I don't watch any of this stuff until I watch it with you guys. Okay.
Is crumbling under our feet. I think anyone that has even a basic understanding of everything that's happening all around us right now...
A basic understanding of everything that's happening all around us.
Can see our empire is falling. Entertainment has never been so abundant or readily available than it is today. In this modern era, the market is absolutely saturated with endless shows, films, and games on a multitude of streaming services, social media platforms, and gaming devices. Part of the reason there are so many things to watch and play right now is because there is a huge demand for it. Everyone is feeling an intense desire for escapism.
Yeah, this is a natural course of things. You can see this kind of thing happen throughout time based on what's going on. Like sci-fi books will go up, during and post-war, stuff like that. This is a normal social phenomenon.
A desire to escape the pain, the stress.
Also, it's boredom. So we have this weird paradox. Okay, so the work we do does not engage us, but all of our time is used up. So we're still bored all the time. And so stuff like this helps kill that boredom because not everybody that's at their job has to be there all the time, but they have to show up for their personal self, but they don't need to show up for like society, right? So we have this thing where nobody is necessarily fulfilled with their job because we don't do jobs based on what we need done. We don't have people have free time. We don't have community. These things come up because of the capitalist society we live in, and you wouldn't like video games would still exist in the commune or whatever system you move on to past American capitalism, but like. The proliferation of them, the reason that people pursue making them is a capitalist function. It isn't just that there's a huge demand. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what's happening. This is not, Econ 101, demand, supply and demand. That's not the only thing that happens. It's not. Like, this market doesn't work on demand. It works on fucking hope. They're like, I hope I make a video game that someone likes. Because you just saturate the fucking market. It's way too many video games for one person to play. There's no demand for video games. It's on the floor. But at the same time, it's high. It ebbs and flows. It's like weird. Like, someone will play GTA 5 is a great example. Someone will play the same game for fucking 10 years. Because it's that's just what happens. So there's not like a demand for a bunch of video games. There's a demand for fucking one good video game. You feel me? But, or a handful.
The worry, the despair that many of us are experiencing.
Yeah, they should be art. Like, we crave artistic stuff. And so when the art comes to the top, it's very rare you see something devoid of any artistic vision whatsoever make any sort of, like, wave. It'll have to be something silly like, Tetris. Fucking Angry Birds. And I would say Angry Birds started, they were cute little guys. That's why we liked them.
As the world falls apart, as our hopes
Great example, then.
And dreams slip through our fingers, and as the lies told to us by our media and our politicians continue to compound on each other. Though a lot of us can see that all of this is happening today, it appears as if most people in the developed world are in denial about our situation. Because the other reason that endless entertainment has become so abundantly and easily accessible is to distract us and occupy our time. It's a distraction to keep our minds off of reality.
Oh no, he's back on camera. That's good. Yes and no. Again, a lot of people are just expressing themselves and are artists and are in this industry, but like a little bit of it's a social panacea, but it's not an intended one. Man, this just isn't how capitalism works. Someone's not pulling the strings to be like, yes, make MLB The Show 2024. Have Jake spend even more time in franchise mode on his couch. Like, it's not. They're just trying. They want money. They want me to buy that. That's it. It's just money.
I found it very helpful and useful to share my personal experience with you in these videos. Usually I like to stay pretty private. I don't even respond to all of those horrendous rumors or drama accusations about me. God, they are piling up. But I think it's important to express my motivation for making these videos, and I've really enjoyed connecting with you. The discussion in the comments has been really nice. You've all made me feel like I'm not so alone in the world, and you've pretty much become the only human interaction that I get now. So thank you everyone for helping me keep my head on straight. I love you.
Okay, so he talked about isolating himself to his YouTube comments, and he doesn't talk to any other fucking human beings? I think that's Greg's way of telling us he won't come chat. Yeah, I mean, he really doesn't sound okay. He should come talk. He should come talk to me. Are there other people watching these videos? He should come talk to me. Not necessarily just about how I disagree with his conspiracy theories, but like, first of all, we have an interesting conversation. Second of all, like, I think you could use a conversation with somebody that isn't you. You know? Huh.
This video is going to be a bit of a rant. I know that I usually have a very specific presentation style, but not every single one of my videos requires me to come off as an authority, because I'm not making these videos to prove that I'm smarter than the situation that's happening in the world right now. I'm making these videos because I'm scared and alone, and I can't find any comfort or distraction that can stop me from feeling that fear. I can't distract myself from feeling this loneliness. I can't shake this uncertainty about what will happen in the near future. And I know that I'm not the only one that feels this way. I want you to know that you are not alone. And you're not crazy for feeling uncertainty in the face of this storm.
You're not feeling uncertainty. You claim to know stuff that has no evidence. Dude, it can't be one fucking breakup, man. This cannot be how it goes. This is not an act. You were depressed and isolated.
We've been divided. We've been kept from feeling connected with each other.
Maybe the green man can keep him company.
Creating connection with each other. We've been discouraged from developing community or experiencing camaraderie. Occupy Wall Street was the last time that large groups of disgruntled people who were awake to this situation that's brewing under our feet, were able to gather together in large numbers.
Greg! If I type the word protests right now. All over the world, man. Just all over. Hundreds of thousands. Look at this. Come on, dude. BLM. Yeah. He doesn't know anything about it. Come on, man. You are isolated. Holy shit. You need to get the fuck out of your house. Go outside.
Occupy Wall Street was the last time we were able to create a movement that had any kind of hope of creating awareness and change in the world. The governments, and more importantly the banks, were terrified of that movement. And since our governments broke that movement up, the environment has changed so much. We've been divided so much. It would be nearly impossible to organize against the money system and our control system like that ever again.
The way he pussyfoots around this, it sounds like he wants to say the Jews so bad. Like he's just saying the same thing without using any slurs right now. Like the banks, it's capitalism. It's capitalism. The banks. Yes, the banks are corrupt. But it's inherent with the system. Like fucking bank tellers aren't in on it. The bank managers aren't in on it. The CEOs are the ones in on it, but they're the part of the power structure, and it's all just capitalism. It's not just like, well, we could do ethical banks. It's like, no. The only way to do ethical banks is if money didn't determine your survival.
Everyone is too busy arguing about identity politics.
Oh my fucking god, it's not identity politics. You say trans people, for instance, the struggle for trans acceptance. This is not identity politics. This is this struggle. It's the same struggle against the same power structure. This time it's just for social stuff instead of economic stuff. It's the same struggle every time. It's intersectional. It's against the same people every single time. Why doesn't he understand? Libs.
Angry over
fucking
woke
centrists?
Media. We've been neutered. We're ineffective against our government now. We have no hope of creating change now. We've devolved into debating over meaningless social issues while we ignore the people causing our problems.
We're not. These are the same conversation. It's the same. It's meaningless to him because he's a straight white cis guy. That's why it's meaningless, because his material reality isn't changed.
One's running off with all of our money and leaving us with nothing. I think one of the reasons people are so frustrated with the meaninglessness of entertainment today is because these empty stories are not truly describing our current condition. Usually artists would speak to the times. They would speak to the issues of today.
There's so much media doing this. Like, just so much. There's a lot of lib shit out there. There's tons of it that loves America and all this. And, like, but leftist content has never been bigger. Like, maybe since the Red Scare. And even then, it wasn't that good. Like polling wise, this is the most popular leftist like socialism has ever been, for instance.
People are craving media like that, books and films that describe our current struggle.
And you're also a straight white male, but you care and got compassion. Gregor's your self-centered. I guess, yeah. I mean, but I don't have to even like you to think that you deserve rights. So you know. It's more, yeah, I'm a nice guy or whatever, but that's not where it comes from. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make fucking logical sense to me. It's not ooey gooey for me. I do like you. You gays. But it's like, fucking, it's not, that's not what it's about for me. It just shouldn't matter at all. It's so dumb that I don't know. I'm a material atheist. You know what I mean? So, like, for me, your sexuality, like, it's just your experience on Earth. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't make, I don't know. It's so much, it's stripped away much further down for me than most people when they talk about it. You can come to leftist policies by purely selfish means quite often. Yeah, I agree. Although I don't think selfishness is where I would place that. But yeah, I agree that even if you can only think for yourself, like for sure, I want my survival needs met.
As a response for those of us that cannot distract ourselves with mindless entertainment, vapid, meaningless
So showing this for no reason, huh? The pyramid eyeball thing.
Stories, empty, useless games. Yeah. As a response to those of us who understand what's happening and are trying to inform everyone, there's an effort to push anti-intellectualism. There's an effort to discredit and demonize criticism and critical thinking. And
I don't think what you're doing is critical thinking. I think what you're doing is fan fiction. You insert a what if this was a thing, and then you try to build an argument to support that thing, which is not what skepticism is. It's fan fiction. Cool, though. I mean, you can do that, but that's not what criticism is. Like, this isn't... You're not criticizing the system properly. This is a capitalism problem.
An effort to villainize people
and an
who
authoritarianism
offer
problem,
insight,
but the capitalism is what fuels that and why they want it.
and encourage action and self-preservation. The Overton window on acceptable discussion in the mainstream keeps getting smaller and smaller as our collective problems become broader and more complex. And those social media platforms that we used to run to spread the truth and create action, like Twitter, have been turned into arenas of chaos where it's impossible to find the truth or reliable information.
I agree with that. But this is because of billionaires who you may suspect I don't think should exist physically or theoretically, though. Yeah.
And the more that I think about it, the more that it feels like that was on purpose.
All right, let's try to appeal to his skeptoid brain. Occam's razor. Maybe he's just an idiot. Maybe Elon Musk is just an idiot. Huh? That's what it is. He makes bad decisions. I could run Twitter better than Elon Musk. I guarantee it. Make me CEO of Twitter. You won't. I want the salary immediately, but also I could actually do a better job. No, most of chat could not. Okay? I disagree. Many of chat could, though. But not most. Some of you don't need your fingers on that button. Better than Elon? Well. Most of chat working together could? Ooh. Communally, I believe in chat. Communally, I do believe in chat, actually. Number one, everyone has to Gundam post. See what I mean? Randy's authoritarian Twitter government rolling out.
After Occupy Wall Street, the powers that be, whatever you want to call them, they recognized that we could see the engineered separation of the classes.
Pickles, I would abuse my power so fast. The only people that should be running Twitter are people that don't want the power. But I do want the salary.
Could see the way the banks and the governments were using us, controlling us, churning us through the system. And when the
banks only gain legitimacy through the governments. If America fizzled out, the bank, it wouldn't have any power. You don't call it the banks. It's just the government. It's just the government and the system it puts in place. It can change how the banks operate immediately. They don't have primary power like That is not how banks work. Like, there's lobbying within banks to, like, get Congress and presidents and stuff to do certain things, but that's all within capitalism and allowed through the, that's the government's fault.
Shut that down?
Dude, look at that's his power stance. He cocked back and he's rocking forward for a huge blow that he's going to whiff. If you play this through, there's no way this guy connects.
Stopped us from discussing that issue.
By the way, fuck this. I'm not getting beat up by a guy that looks like fucking this. Fuck that. Hell no.
Further, that discussion did not come up again until that Joker film debacle. When we began talking about the class issue again, the mainstream media shouted us down again, demonizing us with buzzwords like male rage. Anytime the
oh my fucking god, male rage is real. It's crazy that you're gonna be like, and now I'm an anti-feminism is part of this. Feminism is an intersectional struggle that coincides with this overall capitalist struggle as it interacts with patriarchy, who, by the way, the patriarchs in the title of patriarchy, they're the people with primary access to that capital, which are the problems. Like, it's all connected. He loved your, like, if you want a conspiracy theory, here's the conspiracy theory. A game was started a long time ago called capitalism, and we got little pieces the second we were born, and they put us on a board and they pushed us along, and we never decided to play this. Yeah, man.
Public discussion started to shift towards the class issue or the bank issue, we would get demonized and dismissed. We'd be villainized using identity politics.
No, that was not what. Dude, you're pretending that that men were being criticized for the Wall Street shit? That's what the criticism of men is for? Dumbass.
I know that it may appear as if there are some critics and dissenters out in the media and on the internet that are helping us see the propaganda that's being pushed on us through the media, but those personalities that are allowed to get really popular, they push rage bait that discredits all critics and makes everyone who is skeptical of modern media look ignorant and hateful. The only outlets that are allowed to get really big on YouTube, for example, churn out endless hate content for clicks. Creators who produce content like this unironically empower legitimate misogynists and racists and make it look like everyone who's critical of modern media is one of these
Their views suck, though.
Misogynists, is one of these racists. This is why SNL got away with discrediting the lovers of the Joker as being rage-filled males, because they had more than enough personalities on the internet to point to make that assertion. Channels like Geeks and Gamers perpetuate internet troll culture. This is supposed to be like a geek culture channel, but he almost exclusively rages over the insertion of modern politics in media.
Bro, did he get, that movie with Brendan Fraser where he gets stuck in the time capsule and then comes out and is like, oh, this is how things are. He just came out and he went to bed in 2016 and woke up and found out, wait, Geeks and Gamers is just a shitlord channel? What? Shocked, bro. Blast from the Past, that's the one. Not Encino Man. Encino Man is also a Brendan Fraser thing where he slips through time, but that's just because he was frozen in ice, so less time. Is there another? Wait, hold on. The Brendan Fraser cinematic universe, Encino Man. Okay, so that, and then there's Blast from the Past, and then is there another one where he does that same thing? There's got to be.
Content like this is
trilogy.
extremely toxic,
whale.
and the only reason it gets popular is because it reinforces the Overton window of discussion, and it keeps us distracted from the real issues.
But Geeks and Gamers isn't in on that. He's chasing a dollar. It's capitalism. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, there isn't like a secret cabal of people going like, ah, yes, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. He will be a good propagandist for our lizard cult. It's like, no, he's just a dumbass. He's not part of it.
The mainstream agenda runs much deeper than Kathleen Kennedy's desire to see more women in film and television. The real problem is that the mainstream media clearly has an agenda to keep us dumb and subservient to the system.
Unfortunately, some members of the media
use their platforms to push their own personal bias. And agenda to control exactly what people think. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
The average person in the middle class.
Yeah. So what causes that to happen is the conglomeration of media outlets by a billionaire through the mechanism of capitalism, where he gets to propagandize for a price. He like literally ransoms the platform off. Like he uses it as a lobbying platform in conjunction with the American government to try to keep right-wing interests in play. Like the Murdoch Empire. So like this is super like this is capitalism. If these were public, they wouldn't have any interest in this because they wouldn't be pursuing profit. But they are pursuing profit. And so in the pursuit of profit, they just say crazy shit because it gets clicks and stuff. And that's what they do forever. And they brainwash enough people to win elections. It keeps happening. I would love to talk to Greg about this. I would love to. This would be fun. You'd learn a lot.
Class does not seem even remotely aware of how close our society is to collapse. Everyone is too self-absorbed with narcissistic pursuits. They're too enveloped in endless entertainment and their daily life struggles to spend any energy worrying about the world as a whole. And I get it. Most people just want to live their lives and be left alone. But that's part of the issue. Daily life has become such a grind. Daily life has become such a struggle.
He's
that
so
a lot of
close.
us feel like each individual day is an exercise in survival. We never feel comfortable. We never feel safe. We never feel secure. We never feel fulfilled. After an entire day of just trying to keep our nose above the water, we don't have any energy left to worry about other people.
Greg?
And again, we've lost our sense of community and camaraderie. We've forgotten how to depend on each other to get by. We've learned instead to trust the system to take care of us. And as the system perpetually fails...
The system doesn't take care of us. We haven't been conditioned to take... What? No one has been conditioned to have the system take care of them.
To do that, we keep begging the system to take more control of our lives in a vain hope that giving up one more freedom will finally give us security.
It's crazy that he thinks that this is what leftists are arguing for. What freedom? I want more freedom and more security. I want both. I want more. Because they can do it. They hoard the resources from us. What do you mean? We're not asking for too much. We demand exactly what everyone deserves. He's so close to not being a fucking moron, but he just can't. What freedoms have we lost? Well, in the pursuit of oh man. Patriot Act? Big fucking L for us. Citizens United? Huge L for us. We've lost a lot, but it's all been sneaky shit.
But I think the biggest problem...
Did I do that, or was that a
freedom
subliminal?
will finally give us security. But I think the biggest problem with the middle class is nobody seems to understand how fragile an empire can be. Just how quickly a society can collapse. Everybody just trusts what they hear on television and what they read on the news. People trust what the media and the government tells them far too much. The constant reassurance that everything's being taken care of, everything's under control.
One depiction of the AccuWeather guys trying to do positivity. No one thinks that it's all under control. I don't know anyone who thinks that the government has gone to essentially like, hey, shit is bad sometimes. You should have like a natural disaster plan.
Go back to watching Netflix and arguing about gender identity and diversity. Ignore the raging fire that's engulfing society and crippling our economy.
Greg, they can have gender identity and your economy can be like what economy? Capitalism, dude.
Nor the fact that most people under the age of 40 will never be able to afford a home. That the cost of living keeps increasing higher and higher, even though wages have not raised to meet those demands since the early 1980s. Society is driving itself
into... So you should fight on the side of labor to stop this. By the way, your parents experienced like this and then back down to this, and then we're like, hey, why can't you do anything? Why can't you do stuff? And then you graduated high school around here. And then,
to a solid brick wall, and there are just enough people in the middle class, just enough boomers and Gen Xers that are isolated from that struggle, living comfortable choice lives, that they're able to maintain the perception that everything is still fine. Look, you and your neighbors are fine in your nice neighborhoods. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Just stay in your bungalow and watch Netflix. One of the telltale signs of any collapsing society is the quality of the infrastructure.
We have replicated the patterns that pass civilization.
So, yeah, this is a problem. Surprise. It's with capitalism. So they made everything need funding, and then they stopped funding it. The right-wingers stopped funding it specifically and stopped investing in infrastructure because, like, we can't afford it or whatever. But you can't afford to double the military budget and start going to get oil from foreign places. So, yeah, I agree. But this is just a problem with this system.
In collapse underwent an elite that is no longer connected with the real, that retreats into their bubbles like the Forbidden City or Versailles, and yet has total economic and political power.
Versailles, you say? Feels like something cake and eat it too kind of
Or
situation.
the crumbling of infrastructure. Civilizations always decay. Their cities go first. We've already done that. The retreat into illusion.
As I mentioned in my banks video, our city infrastructure is crumbling. And all we can really do now is accumulate more national debt in an attempt to build more infrastructure. Meanwhile, each individual city is...
It's funny that the phrase money is the root of all evil is ubiquitous and no one's ever thought about it.
failing to afford to repair the existing roads and bridges. Businesses are closing, shutting down at an astounding rate.
Okay, so this is a function. It's of capitalism. So there was no need for these spaces. A lot of the times people would have these office. So, okay, there's a couple things going on here. This real estate, you don't necessarily need to fill the buildings with people to make money on the real estate. Just having it makes them money. Because it's a big racket, man. And sometimes they want to fill the spaces depending on the person, but usually not in like Manhattan or something. Like it's you have whole empty buildings here. You don't need brick and mortar to have a lot of businesses anymore. Surprise, we have the internet. So like things get more remote. So we're phasing out of like a need for physical office space like this, and we should really transition into a need for community spaces. And I personally do not think that this would be hard to accomplish unless the only pursuit you had was profit. And then it's very hard to accomplish. And housing, of course. We could solve housing without building a single building.
Entire commercial centers in cities are now barren wastelands since the lockdowns of 2020 began.
Well, that looks dope, though. It's not a barren wasteland. This is cool. What the fuck?
Inflation has become everyone's enemy. Food prices are so high right now, most people are losing most of their paycheck to groceries. The cost of individual items is higher, and each package contains less food. Yep. I get stressed
and lower quality food. Have you guys noticed that?
Every time I feel hungry. All I can think about is how much money I'm wasting every time I need to eat something. Part of the reason for this is because food is less abundant. Our market...
No. We have abundant food. We throw it away. We do not have a lack of food. We have plenty of food to feed every human being on Earth every day. Look, I don't want to bang this fucking drum again. But this is capitalism. It costs you money to eat fucking food, which is stupid. Like any produce at the consumer level should be fucking free. Like we subsidize these fucking essentially cash crops like corn and fucking potatoes and shit. That would, potatoes are actually nutritious, but fucking corn, they get subsidies to make the stuff we don't need, and that's why you have so many of these stupid fucking things around. I mean, it's just he just doesn't he doesn't know anything. All of this intersects at one point, and he can't identify it.
It isn't loaded with food anymore, and a lot of what farmers grow now goes into supplementing other foods with things like soybeans. The most abundant crop is corn, and a lot of the corn goes into making corn syrup, which is used for sugary drinks and candy. Things of which we absolutely need less. But farmers are not incentivized to grow nutritious crops and keep our grocery stores full. Farmers are incentivized
The grocery stores are plenty full. That was look, it's capitalism. It just is, dude. This is how are you not seeing that this is a problem with the system in general?
To grow what pays out the best for them. And what pays out the best are industry items like soy and corn.
But it's not because they pay out the best, it's because the government specifically subsidized them because the pursuit of money
being properly utilized. Things that are not being used to feed the masses. I have an entire video planned about food and food production. Farming has been commodified in the same way that housing has. Food doesn't exist because people need to eat food. Food exists so that Monsanto can make money and control the food and farming industries.
Sort of. Not really Monsanto. Yes, but no.
I've mentioned on my podcast several times in the past that there have been economic tensions, perhaps even an economic Cold War between the East and the West for well over a decade now, which have started to turn into real warlike tensions. A lot of the inflation issues, food and drug availability issues, and even the supply chain crisis can be tied back to this economic Cold War.
This economic Cold War. And what economic system is driving this particular war?
Have to do an entire video about this. It's a complicated issue, but most of these problems came to a head during the lockdowns, which is the main reason our economy has struggled to recover in the last few years.
Dude, there's so many things they could have done better. We shouldn't have had Donald Trump. No one handled that right because everyone was worried about money. That's what it was. No one handled it right because they were worried about money. You had a few places that did okay. Like, it didn't have to be... It's essentially endemic now. Like, it's just so fucking stupid.
The reason these tensions are starting to boil is because resources are becoming more scarce for everyone.
They're
And
nuts!
everyone is much less interested in sharing those resources. Not to mention the fact that most major world powers are in debt to the banks, and the banks are really starting to put the screws to everyone. Our society is also extremely dependent on oil, and the places from which we source our oil are intentionally manipulating the oil market to maximize profit. As you can imagine, during a...
Oh. To maximize what now? Now, why would they do that? When they could just be nice.
global economic collapse, only the absolutely largest industries and corporations will manage to survive, and they do that by exploiting us. Those
Is he just gonna say? Is he eventually gonna say, "I'm a big fucking communist now"? Because you're correct. Like, yep, you're identifying these correctly.
Those few people that are left that can afford things are forced to pay more for them. Even those lower tier laborers that are invested in the industry have to pay more, which translates into us paying more. For example, farmers have to pay more for seed, they have to pay more for herbicides and pesticides, and they have to pay more for fuel. And in the end, that translates into food being much more expensive for everyone else. The point I'm making here is that there are a million reasons that we're struggling right now. There are endless causes for prices to be higher. And the people who are not...
And the prices, we can't do anything about the prices. We have to have prices. Because if we don't have prices, what am I going to do?
Not hurting right now are also not helping. The middle class and upper class have remained ignorant to the struggles the rest of us are enduring.
The rest of us? Is this the rest?
So they're not acting. They're not doing anything to create change because
Dude, that basketball court, so cool. This one right here. Not blue, though. There we go. This one's better. I want one of these.
Trust too much that everything will be fine. Everything's fine for them now, it always has been, and they assume it always...
Chat, subscribe immediately so I can pour concrete and play basketball.
Will be. They have no idea how close we are to losing everything. They're in denial that change is coming at all. They don't understand the severity of the situation, and they underestimate the harshness of the change we will experience. So few seem prepared at all. Everything in our environment is telling us to trust that everything will be fine. Everything in our environment is telling us to keep investing into our society. Keep investing into property. Keep investing into our future. Keep believing that we will have a future.
So he's just like, now he's just like full fucking black pill. Okay. He also still thinks the Green Man stuff is happening, right? Like the electromagnetic sphere is fucked up. There have been a lot of volcanoes going off recently. Maybe that's it. Maybe we're fucked.
I hope you
Like platypus, give one a concrete specialist. Can pour Greg a bunker. And me a basketball court. I'm going to invest in the basketball court in the future. Greg says invest in Green Man.
Conditioned to believe that the future is coming and that technology and ease of life will continue to scale upwards infinitely. But
okay, so class divide is okay. More people are conscious right now of class divide than ever before. Humans are mortals. These two things imply to me that I have hope. I don't have great hope. We have to do things. We have to be involved in politics, continue to talk about this. But mortal beings die, and more people don't want kings than ever before. You know? Kings that we don't even elect. Kings that just have hordes of money, little dragons. And they shouldn't have it. They shouldn't have it that way, and they shouldn't have... I mean, they can have money if money doesn't buy fucking safety.
Technology...
My mental illness disagrees with you. Well...
is a lie. Drones, AI, smart devices, they're a lie. Comfort is a lie. The future is a lie. Stop getting distracted by the pretty flashing lights. Look away from your screen and witness the reality of our condition.
Is that Detroit? It is Detroit. There's the GM building right there. The reality of the situation is that I have seen this home, and yeah, I mean, this is from way before that, though. This is from way before that. There's Comerica Park. I've been to all these places. This is Ford Field. It's a great place.
Please, I beg you, break yourself out of the Matrix.
Love the Detroit. Detroit gets fucking... Because of this section of town, everyone thinks Detroit is just total ass. It's so much better now. There's lots of culture.
This is one of the reasons why the real estate
I agree
market...
that fucking capitalism has ripped that place in half, but like it is a vibrant place. It's really fun to be
so
there.
messed up right now. The lie that we have a future. We're expected to pay more and more into future investments with empty promises that it will pay off even bigger one day. We're expected to pay $500,000 or $1 million for a one-bedroom home with the expectation that that investment will make sense in the future. Meanwhile, nobody can afford these housing prices. Nobody can sell their properties because nobody can buy them. The market doesn't make sense because there's never going to be a payoff for those investments. How can homes be so expensive if nobody can afford to buy them? And
no, this one. Capitalism. It's capitalism again.
And now the banks are talking about increasing interest rates.
Yeah.
So people that are already paying mortgages are now going to be paying higher monthly fees.
Yes.
The banks find ways to make more money off of the people who are already paying. And
So this is, yep, the government could stop this immediately, but it's not in their interest monetarily because they subscribe to capitalism. You're being exploited by the billionaire class. This is a class struggle, and we need to row in the same direction to get things done. And we need to understand that the conversations that we're having that include things that aren't directly capitalism, such as social justice issues, are tied to this because it intersects. Because the reason we have those struggles is due to the people in power already, and whether or not they have financial interest due to capitalism in the, or whatever otherness they can provide someone. It's also Christian, which is another big problem. Big pillar of the problem is Christianity.
this will lead to more people defaulting on their mortgages, getting evicted from their homes. There is no future. There will be no economy in which we can collect on those investments. The housing market is not a bubble. It's a lie. This is one of the ways that a government cannibalizes its own economy. If houses are more expensive, then that means the government makes more off of taxes. They make more off of capital gain tax, they make more off of property transfer tax, and they make more off of the purchase tax. The housing market is artificially inflated so that governments can make tax money now in exchange for selling out our future. Meanwhile, increasing interest rates, telling us that they're doing that to offset inflation. It's a
To offset inflation, they don't. So the The American government doesn't need our money. They created the money. Like, they don't... What? Who does the American government answer to? Themselves. What? What? What, bro? They made this money. They control this.
Downward death spiral, one from which we can almost certainly
it's not the government that benefits the most. So they do eventually, but it's mostly for the billionaire interest, because the government caters to billionaire interests because they like the system. So Warren Buffett, the owner of Berkshire Hathaway, has most of the real estate in the country, and there's other places that have more of it. And they essentially buy up all the homes and sell them at higher prices, so that those individuals can have more money under that system. But the politicians like that shit because they subscribe to capitalism, so they buy into that shit. Yeah, it's the whole thing.
Never recover.
Ow! What happened here?
Back in 2008, when all those mega corporations and banks neared collapse during the recession, instead of letting them die, the taxpayers paid to keep those corporations alive.
Correct.
The free market had determined that those companies deserved to fail, yet the government stepped up and gave them their lives back at the expense of the taxpayer. Meanwhile, the idea of using that same logic to help individual citizens or small businesses who are struggling against our failing system is shouted down as...
What failing system? What's the system that's failing? What system is failing? Huh? What's the system?
Socialism. But our failing system is shouted down as socialism. But socialism is what we gave the corporations instead. The corporations get to survive off of a socialist handout from the taxpayer.
No! No! That's not what socialism is, man.
Corporations do not build our nations and supply jobs and bolster the economy.
Socialism is when you give a tax break to a corporation is just fucking so stupid. Socialism. So, no. Socialism and or communism is when the workers have the means.
In our capitalist nations, not the way that we're told that they're supposed to. Corporations are supposed to be the ones taking the risks, building our economy, and bolstering our nations, but instead it's
but that's the propaganda of capitalism that you have fallen into, that it's a lie. They don't do that thing. They don't do that thing. What they are trying to do is make money. They are not trying to make the country better or their communities better. Trying to make money.
Other way around. The corporations enjoy socialism and the taxpayer build them up and bolster their value and ensure their bottom line is secure. We're supposed to tolerate corporations in our free market society because corporations...
If they enjoyed socialism, every worker in that corporation would make the profit.
Are supposed to be the ones supplying us with jobs, with food.
Supplying us with jobs and food. Ugh.
And products and necessities. Corporations are supposed to be paying for infrastructure and utilities. They make more than enough money that their taxes could cover all of our nation's needs. But instead, they're cannibalizing the government to stay alive and...
No. Stop. Okay. The idea of a virtuous corporation it's not real. Capitalism dictates that their point is to make money, not to minimize profit or not maximize it. Rather, to maximize well-being is not their charter. The only way to get rid of this is to get rid of the reason they do this. Or amend the conditions to alleviate the greed, meaning that people don't need a job at one of these corporations to live. which would drastically reduce their power overnight, and they know this, because then you wouldn't need to work at the corporation for them to, so they'd have to pay you higher wages to get you out of your fucking room, right? To get you from doing what you want to do. They'd have to barter for you harder. Which is a good thing. We should have more collective bargaining power. We are more important than them.
Running off with
But this is so, you tell an American that and they're backwards as fuck. They're like, no, we can't do that. Then the corporations won't have any money for us. And it's like, what do you mean for us? What?
profits, going as far as to use their government bailout money to give themselves year-end bonuses and buy fancy yachts and mansions, rubbing their success in our faces as we struggle to survive in the system that they create and they manipulate.
Starting so close. Some class consciousness is starting to boil up in this guy.
Everything operates completely.
Look at him. He's so angry. He's doing old-timey robber baron political cartoons. He's right. He's right to do so. It's what they are. They're robber barons. But do you know why?
Backwards to the way that capitalism is sold to us. Yeah. Capitalism is completely upside down. This is corporatism. We live in a corporatist society.
But he still thinks capitalism is a good thing to try to strive for. Crazy.
And we all support the corporations at our own expense, not the other way around. It's not really much of a democracy when lobbyists and campaign donors can manipulate politicians.
Yep.
When Obama bailed out the banks and the automotive industry,
come on,
he told
Greg,
us that was because
maybe he's just slow burn me towards your I'm a fucking socialist video. Let's go.
They're too big to fail. But what have they done for us since then?
Nothing.
In what way do the banks and the automotive industry work for us? They do not. This is why the American prison system is completely full today. This is why the music industry keeps feeding kids into the system.
Yeah.
Because everything in society is
sort of
designed to squeeze as much profit out of every individual citizen as possible.
Yes.
And work us hard to bleed us dry.
Yeah.
And when somebody grows up in an impoverished neighborhood, when someone grows up in an environment that makes it impossible for them to financially succeed, they're not very likely to become a huge moneymaker for society. They're not very likely to pay a lot of money in taxes. So the system has to churn them through the prison industry in order to earn money off of them.
Nah, it's so much more insidious than that. It's not a... Man. The system doesn't care. Okay, so this is the profit motivation of, like, the prisons and then the police. But again, it's because it's capitalism. So, like, these are for-profit prison situations. We have a lot of these old racist laws on hand. It all ties in, which, by the way, was a pursuit of capitalism due to slavery. Like, it's all this. It just all comes back to the same thing. Please get to it, man. Get to it.
Turn them into slaves to give them value to society.
You need to push.
Everything is fucked. Everything is broken. This is not the world that I want to live in. Near the tail end of the Roman Empire, right before
Maybe the wellness check is good.
For the collapse, the Colosseums became extremely popular. The Roman government offered lots of bread and beer, presented
He didn't say circuses?
People with endless entertainment, shows, gladiatorial battles, displays to distract everyone from the imminent collapse. The more people were distracted by the entertainment, the less they noticed how terrible the Roman Empire was becoming.
Babe, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? So sort of, but not really, kind of. Also, due to their empire building, there was a lot of motivation to stop it, especially when they started looking weak. There was also an aspect of not being able to, especially in that limited technological time, being able to actually control that many people all at once and to still be like a nation. There's lots of problems with this. It's not one thing. There are some, the emperors near the end weren't good. They had a lot of turnover at the time, so they did do this kind of shit. Yeah. But yeah, it's not just that. I don't think this isn't akin to Rome. This is so much more pernicious and large than Rome. It's just
With everyone in the Colosseums, it was easier to sell them propaganda. It was easier to keep assuring everyone that everything was fine. Rome is great. Keep celebrating your leader. Keep supporting the Caesar. Endless entertainment forever for everyone who loves Rome. Just stay happy. Don't look around. Don't pay attention to the hardship and the collapsing infrastructure around you. Just watch the show. Keep eating your bread and drinking your beer. Watch the gladiators fight lions to the death. This is exactly what's happening today. The complacency from
This is
the
like lazy.
endless entertainment stops us from feeling urgency or necessity in
like
developing community or relying on camaraderie.
It's just Rome collapsing again. It's just kind of like, heard it.
Concept of community is being taken away from us. The more the government assures us that they'll take care of us, the less reliant we become on each other. All the ways that we used to deal with the struggle and hardship as a community, we either no longer know how to employ them, or we've stopped caring enough about each other to help each other. Then when it comes our time to need help, there's no one there for us. Complacency, unearned trust in the system, and false hope for the future. It's during times like this in any collapsing society that people start crying for a savior out of desperation. This is when we're most vulnerable to being used and manipulated.
Volstri? Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Who's this? JFK? Is that Mao? I can't tell. This is very Warhammer coded. What in the God King fuck? God Emperor Trump, that's right.
People become desperate enough that they're willing to give themselves over to an authoritarian, give up all of their freedoms just to have someone come along and take care of the problem for them. People will be so desperate to be taken care of that they will surrender themselves to a government or to a leader. This is why fascism is so popular right now, and why people are pushing so hard to enact communism. Both
Oh my fucking god.
are authoritarian solutions to our problem.
Anarcho communism or socialism is not authoritarian. It never has been. Just so dumb. It's not authoritarian for you to have more individual power and freedom. Like, what?
Both avenues are going to seem much more appealing to
Hey, Dillis, I'm going to finish the whole video. I'm going to do it. I'm going to watch 4 more fucking minutes of it.
desperate people searching for a savior to fix all of their problems. Authoritarian regimes promise structure. This is why Donald Trump is so popular. His empty promises to clean up the swamp. People like that are not here to save us.
That's true.
They're here to steal power during times of desperation.
Absolutely
I've
true.
been feeling that fear. I've been feeling that desperation.
Is he just so? Most of this video just has B-roll of him being Sag. I kind of thought he was going to be on screen more often.
Understand. I'm constantly questioning the security of my life. I'm not very good at taking care of myself. I'm terrible with money. And I'm completely alone in the world. I want so badly to be taken care of. To have a human connection. To have someone that cares enough about me just to help me. And when...
Big cry for help. So everybody... Okay. To take care of you is like a weird one. Like to just do it all. Yeah, man. Yeah, we need help here. I mean, what's he gonna do though if he's broke? Can't get health care. Can't get mental health care. Could understand what the actual fucking problems were. You'd have less anguish if you had clarity on this issue. I can assure you. You wouldn't have, like, it's not a panacea, but I feel like understanding the problem is helpful.
When large groups of people, giant chunks of the population, experience that fear, this desperation for someone or something to come and fix everything for them, to make it right again, to make life safe and secure again, to take away all of their stresses and fears, you're going to get a giant public outcry for intervention.
They're all white.
An outcry for drastic changes, for authoritarianism. I know from my own life experiences that when I am at my most desperate, that's when I am the most vulnerable. That's when it's...
Bro, it's crazy for you to say all of this about capitalism and then say, but we can't not do capitalism because that's also authoritarian, and that's crazy to me. Like, you don't have to have markets for every aspect of life. And no authoritarianism has to occur for any of this to be accomplished.
It's most likely that someone will try to take advantage of me. I have to actively fight that desire to get help, that desire to have someone come into my life and save me from my pain. Because that person that comes into my life almost always makes things worse for me in the end. They give me a regimented path to follow that only grinds me down to a powder, that destroys what little peace and security I had.
Who is he talking about? What? Who is he getting regimented?
Always take control. They take away my freedoms. And they always add to my stress and create more desperation. That promise to save me always turns out to be a lie. They sell me false hope just to get me to give up my agency.
Sounds like you're upset about your breakups. Girlfriends aren't there to save you. They're partners. Like, girls are just people, man. They're just people. They're not little fucking pixie people. That the man's never been able to go outside ever since he lost his shoes.
This is how our world operates. This is how our leaders think. There is no such thing as a human savior, just tyrants waiting to exploit our weaknesses while we are at our most desperate. This is that point in our society before the collapse where we are most likely to want a powerful leader, a savior, a Caesar to rise up and fix all of this for us.
A Caesar? No one is looking for... I don't know a single leftist that has one person in mind. Does any leftist have one person in mind to save everybody? This man needs bread book. Holy shit, true.
To sell us on the false idea that the world was once great and that he can make it great again. And we have to resist that urge to beg for that. We have to resist the urge to call for a savior. That's what they want us to do. To trust and believe and have hope that a savior can even rise up among us at all. Because
President G. Chi, come save us.
Now is when it's most likely that a totalitarian leader or government will try to take over and cripple us. We are at our most vulnerable right now. So this is when we have to be the most skeptical.
That's not what skepticism is, man. Fuck. So that was pretty tough. That was a tough one. I would absolutely love to talk to Greg. I don't think he's gonna talk to me. I guess I could put a thing in his. Let me switch my account to my account.
Do you know the difference?
Gets another click. Maybe if I reply to his pinned thing.
Go.
Hey man. Who knows, dude? Who knows? Redemption arc. I mean, we could. Okay, so I think he would get a lot of. I think he'd get a lot out of a conversation with an actual leftist about these problems. You know, it's pretty clear he has his ideology doesn't have an answer for the problems that are happening, and so it bothers him a lot. But like, you're right there, dude. I don't think he's too far gone yet. I mean, I think his internal monologue about his importance in the narrative and his other conspiracy theory stuff has been pretty concerning. But this particular topic, I think he could quite easily come around on account of it being the correct position to have. So anyway, I think Greg should come talk to me, and we should talk about capitalism and problems with the world.